All right, guys, in today's video, what we're going to be working on is a leaking oil filter adapter on the 6.5 liter diesel engines for the K trucks, four-wheel drive trucks only. Now, the owner drove it over here in the rain, unfortunately, so we got a lot of water on here, but I think you can still see right there where it's dripping from the bolt that attaches this adapter to the block. And then if we pan out and we take a look underneath here, we can also see where it's dripping down onto the shaft for the front axle, and there's a drop right there as well. So that's our job today. It's pretty straightforward and simple, but pretty common problem, so hopefully you'll find something useful out of it. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to show you is a quick and easy thing you can check first before we actually take this off. All right, guys, if we take a look at the service manual for what we're going to be working on here today, and just take a look at this section. Here's a kind of a diagram of what we're after. So if it was a two-wheel drive vehicle, it would just be the oil filter spinning right onto the block with an adapter. But we're on the four-wheel drive version, so we've got a side-mounted oil filter with the adapter, and then we've got an adapter to mount that to the block. And then what we're going to see when we take this apart is we're going to have this hollow bolt, and then we're going to have a stack of 3 seals. This one, and this one. This one's the biggest one when we get to it, between the adapter and the block. And then we're going to have this seal here that's actually mounted inside the housing. It's kind of hard to tell from this picture, but this guy's actually in the housing. And then this guy here is actually going to be mounted right on the bolt. So that's the stack we've got. When we get it all put back together, we're going to torque it down to 47 foot-pounds. Now they've got a note on here that after you put the oil filter on, which they remind you is four-wheel drive only here, they want you to recheck that torque. And actually, I've got another thing I keep from another GM bulletin. I actually keep this with all these PF1218 filters when I'm working on a vehicle that has one, because this was a later service update to say whenever you're doing an oil change, so whenever you change the filter, you should check this torque. Make sure it's this 47 foot-pounds after installing a new oil filter. So this tends to work its way loose just from the way these diesel engines have a lot of vibration, and that could be a problem that's easily fixed, but usually it's going to be the seals have shot out. Now here's one last picture I'll show you. This is from the parts diagram of GM. It's the same picture really, but just to show you, right, it looks very similar, that they mark this out. And even though they give the same number on the explosion to this, these are actually 2 different GM part numbers that I'll give you guys a little later. So when we get this all taken apart, we get these new seals in here, we clean it up, we'll put a new oil filter on, and what we're going to use for that is going to be a 2516 0561, which is an AC Delco PF1218. So that's what we'll be putting on, and then we'll just do a regular oil change as part of this repair. All right, guys, it's almost never going to help to check that bolt. That's usually something that's just going to occur when you do the change. So we're going to go ahead and pull this guy off. Of course, the first thing we're going to have to do is get the oil filter off. You want to align this particular type of repair up with doing an oil change. I'll try to keep the lighting here for you guys, and hopefully we won't splash the camera on any of this. All right. Just going to bump you guys for a minute while I spin this PF1218 the rest of the way off. And just let it slowly get out into our oil pan here. Once this drains off, then we'll pull the bolt. I have not drained the pan yet. You don't need to for this particular location until after we get done with this. All right, we'll let that settle off, and then we'll come back and get the bolt later. All right, stop dripping. We're going to come up here with a 36 millimeter socket on a 1/2 inch breaker bar. We can get into a position where we got some leverage to release this 47 foot-pounds of clamping force. switch off from the breaker bar now, and we'll switch over to a ratchet. And we'll get this bolt the rest of the way out. Should be able to turn it with our hand now. Yep. Let's see if I can get my hand up in here. And then we're just going to pull the adapter out. Hopefully all the seals will come with it. It's a long bolt. Big long bolt. Come on. Right near the end here, it's starting to get a little tight again. There we go. All right, a little bit more oil dripping out of this housing. Let that run out for just a bit. And then I think to get this out, what we'll do is we'll come up on top of the drive shaft and work it around the other side of the drive shaft, and that's it. We got it out. All right, let me get you guys a better view of what we got going on here. All right, that's where it was attached. So you're not going to see the seal up on that end. We're going to clean that mating surface up before we reinstall it. The seals are all going to be in the housing end. All right, here's our housing. Now right on the top, this is the part that mounts to the engine, and this is the part where the oil filter mounts. So right on top here is a large seal, right there. And we can see this one has gotten very stiff and flat. Right, so that's part of where our leak's coming from. Now there's two more seals. So here's our big bolt running down the middle. We got to get the other seals out of here. So there's one right here at the top that you can see. I believe that's it. Got to get this bolt out though to be sure. Nope, it's right on the bolt. So there's our other seal right here. When you try to take these kind of seals out, you just want to make sure that you're not gouging or scratching the bolt, because that'll give a trough where the oil can wick around the seal. This one is really, really stiff. I can't even get it to flex enough to get something under there. Let me stop for a second on that and just kind of see where the third seal is. Okay, so the third seal is still stuck in the housing. We can see it right there, right? And they're all very brittle and very flat. So the diag was correct. This is our problem. This is why this is leaking. See if I can get in here with a dental pick type tool. Nope, super, super stiff. And now the housing for the filter adapter here is aluminum, so we even have to be more careful not to scrape anything while getting this guy out. Yeah, so this one is so brittle it just broke trying to flex it out. All right, so there's that one. It's basically a stack like I showed you in the service manual view. You got a very large one here, and then a small one that sits on the bolt, and then a medium-sized one that sits right here. 3 seals, and in this case, all of them are shot. So if I can get this last one out without damaging the bolt. Yeah, this one broke also. So all these seals are bad. All right, let me get this stuff cleaned up, and then I'll show you the part numbers for the new seals, and we'll get it reinstalled. All right, guys, we ran everything through the parts washer and satisfied that we've gotten it all cleaned up and ready to reassemble here. So let's start looking at the new part numbers. So the big outer O-ring is going to be a GM 1255 9095. What we're going to do here, we got a little bit of clean 15W40 motor oil that we're just going to lubricate this seal with before we install it. So it should be nice and supple, just like you see here, not all brittle and stiff like the ones we took out. All right, so there's that guy. Now the next one we're going to do is a 1255 9583, and that one goes on the bolt. This one is like double bagged. All right, same deal. A little bit of clean 15W40. Going to just gently roll it past the threads so that we don't get any scraping or tearing. And then to get it into its home, we'll use our dental pick. All right, so there's that one. One more to go. That's going to be a GM 1255 9584. This last one, paradoxically, is discontinued. So it's harder to find. The other two are still available. I'll put links in the description of this video for all of these part numbers, including this housing and the bolt and the oil filter fitting, which is right here in case you need any of these. All right, so this guy we're going to work in here, but before we do, I'm going to make doubly sure that we don't have any of the solvent from the parts washer in here. And then we're going to work this guy in to his home right there. And with all that in there, we can put some more clean oil on the shaft of the bolt and this bevel here, and then we can twist this into position on the new O-ring and have relative confidence that it's not going to tear out. It should be on the stiff side. You should push in nice and flush, just like that. It'll go up the rest of the way, and we torque it. So let's get it back into the engine bay area and get it remounted and torqued down. All right, guys, the next thing you got to do is get the mating surface on the engine block prepped. And when you've got that done, it should be like this. Brake clean or some other kind of solvent. You want that whole ring where that big sealing O-ring makes contact be clean and dry. All right, I think we're ready now. Now we're going to take the housing assembly and we're going to route it underneath the drive shaft for the front axle here. see if we can get our other hand on the ratchet. Got the socket stuck there for a second. So we get this started by hand. Or not. It's going to be really tight with those new seals to turn the bolt. Bear with me, guys. Once you get it started, the little flange that the filter fits on will give you some resistance so you can tighten this bolt. We'll get it down part way and then we'll position it where it's supposed to sit. Obviously it's not supposed to touch that exhaust manifold, so we're not going to leave it there. But it's very handy to help us get this guy tightened up. Maybe I'll back this off a little bit. Okay, so we're really going to want to put it like right here. See if I can get this to... There's a lot of obstructions, so I can't really get you guys the view I would like. But what I was talking about is that's the exhaust manifold that it's tapping up against. We obviously don't want it touching against that, so you're going to move it back away from that the way you found it. About a finger's length should be fine. As long as you can get your finger in between the housing and the exhaust manifold, you'll be okay. So obviously when we get towards the end here, we're going to have to wedge something in there to take up that space for us. All right, so it's snug now. So now's what I'd like to get something in there. So let me get something I can wedge in there that we can then use to torque it. All right, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a really long pry bar, something you can maintain control of so that it doesn't end up falling on your face. And then we'll snug it up with the ratchet wrench. And then we can switch to the torque wrench. All right, let's see if we can finish this off now. That's it, 47 foot-pounds. Now we can put on a new oil filter. All right, we're just putting some oil around the oil filter seal like I mentioned earlier. Putting this new AC Delco PF1218 onto the other end of the adapter. And we will just put this guy on hand tight, the way I showed you on the box, right? You're just going to go around 1 1/4 turn for when it starts getting snug. And when it's as tight as you can go with your hand, you're done. If there's any dripping from where you put this oil on the seal, you can wipe that up. And guys, we're done with this repair. I wish this had some better visibility for you. Unfortunately, this is a real tightly cramped area, so this was as good as I could do to take you along. Just another view on the bottom here where we have this. Anyway, I hope this video helps you out in addressing this particular leak. It's kind of common. I would say it's something that pops up on this particular engine maybe once every 6 to 8 years or so. If this helped you get yours fixed and get rid of that leak, I'd appreciate you paying it forward with hitting that like button. And as always, thanks for watching.